What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. We've got another great show for you tonight. So we're going to go through a few different very important things that I want you all to stick around for. Do me a favor and smash that like, comment, and subscribe so we can run the numbers up on the algorithm and get this information out there to more people. Like, share with your family, friends, but let's get this information out there. It needs to be out there. Also, as a discretion, this is for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe everything you see on here, but do your own research from everything you see. Don't believe me, don't believe any of these people. I've studied a lot of this stuff, like I've said before, most of my entire life. So I have a good bit of experience. I've gone to, 30 countries looking for this stuff. So I've got my own opinions on it, but you need to formulate your own. I just want to plant the seed and make you aware. I'm not trying to change your mind or change your beliefs or anything. I just want you to know what's actually out there. So let's get it going.
Education as a whole. Let me explain. So there's a man named J.D. Rockefeller who created the public education system as we know it. Back in the day, there used to be something called the agrarian age, where everybody owned their own business. They owned their own farm, and people would go to school for about an hour or two every week at their local church. That's why they called it Sunday school. You'd go to school, you'd learn how to read and write a couple hours a week. That was all. They did some research to find out how to indoctrinate a nation. The research that they discovered said 12 years. That's how long it takes for people to normalize everything that's been happening. So they made school 12 years long. They made school 5 days long a week, with a bell for recess and a bell for lunch to condition people for factory work. The grading system itself was a communication to your future employers. If you got an A, you'd be a good employee, and if you got an F, you'd be a very bad employee. When asked about the curriculum, on what the heck they were going to teach kids for 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 12 years of life, because they'd know how to read and write within a couple of years, their answer was, teach them everything about nothing. That's why you graduated with SOHCAHTOA and A squared plus B squared equals C squared and the periodic table, and yet you're not familiar with your own system of government, you're not familiar with how to file your taxes, you're not familiar with basic life skills like conflict resolution, how to implement boundaries, budgeting, all those things that would really help you in life. So, public education.
The demon. To end on the previous video I posted about the educational system, is that the education there is conceptually pure indoctrination. It creates workers, not thinkers, because when you start critical thinking, you become a problem for the system. The school grades there are just the outcome of your good memory. There's nothing to do with your intelligence. In these schools, they teach you a lesson and give you a test, which is the opposite of how reality teaches you. Earth is a school, and it gives you a test and then teaches you a lesson. Schools are literally stopping you from pursuing your dreams because they are forcing you to be good at plenty of irrelevant subjects. It has nothing to do with you making a lot of money. Instead, it makes you a slave of money.
The demons don't exist physically, they exist in the ethereal realm. All your thoughts and energy can manifest somewhere. If someone's paying devotion to a religion, they're keeping something alive. This is why you're not supposed to worship false idols, because you can give fictitious things power. When kids have imaginary friends, they can feel them, they talk to them, it's because they've created them. That energy can create its own consciousness and have communion with the person. They don't tell you these things. The government tells us in some of these documents. It's alarming. 99% of the population doesn't understand, overstand how our reality actually works. And yes, I do. I can sit here and say 100% without a doubt I know how our reality works. But the thing is, there's laws that exist, and these laws is what governs us. And then the thing is, when you abide by these laws, you can formulate a system matrices to help you. The demons.
To end on the previous.
So what do you guys think about that? Let me know now down in the comments. Do you guys think that there are laws out there that we're not aware of, or do you think that we should be going by these specific laws that he's talking about? I have my own opinions on this. I know for a fact that there's universal laws out there that dictate how our reality works and what we've been told or shown. is a bunch of lies mixed with bits of truth. But formulate your own opinions and let me know what you think down in the comments.
The best way to gain control of the most intelligent, powerful species on the planet would be to completely divide them from the love within themselves. As soon as they are old enough to begin creating an understanding of who they are, force them into a system that teaches them that it is wrong to be yourself if yourself is different from what is accepted as normal. Confuse them about their own biological makeup so that they think that permanently altering their body is the answer to happiness. Require their daily attendance at an institution that makes them focus only on the information that is provided. Make them attend that institution from age 5 until an adult and repeatedly test them on the information so that it becomes their truth. Give them an explanation to everything so that they never have a chance to make their own assumptions of the world. Scold them and humiliate them if they suggest an opinion that opposes that of their authorities. Keep reminding them of how cruel their ancestors were to each other in the past and broadcast how cruel they are to each other in the present. Only show them tragedies on the news so that they live in fear and think the worst of one another. Convince them that their species used to be that of an incognizant wild animal. Make them think that their very existence is so incredibly random that they lack purpose and struggle to make sense of a creator. Tell them that their kind is as smart as they've ever been so that they don't question the integrity of the system that they're in. Provide them idols with artificial beauty and use them as examples of what it is to look perfect so that they are never content with their own appearance and can't help but to compare themselves amongst each other. Create addictive digital platforms that rank them by numbers so that they base their self-worth off of the amount of followers that they have and are never satisfied.
The eyes are useless when the mind is blind. So now it's time for you to open your eyes. And the only way you can do that is if you open your mind. Can you imagine somebody building something as glorious as this with no electricity or power tools? And can you imagine somebody carrying hundreds of tons of cement and concrete up the hill to the middle of nowhere and building something as glorious as this with just a hammer and a chisel? And let's look at these temples. If these was built with a hammer and chisel, it means if you make one mistake, brother, it's a wrap. It's game over. You're trying to tell me that slaves, because that's what you're going with, slaves chiseled into rock and made these glorious buildings. I don't know about you, but malnourished slaves would be under so much pressure, a mistake is destined to happen. Just look how smooth they was able to make marble with no power tools. You're telling me these men had sandpaper and they're getting jobs done like this? We can't even do this today, brother. I've said this once and I'm gonna say it again. The type of technology that we had back in the day, we just cannot reproduce now.
The conceptual education.
The algorithm.
The Legion of Doom is about to begin its reign of terror.
Gangway! Up to see New York? We could all go with the bus company's special Super Sitter fare. $9? This one's on Nick.
Let's hope Osama bin Laden doesn't know show tunes. God, I hope I get it. I hope I get. Wait and see!
Oh, you're stupid.
Well, you're stupider.
No, you're...
American defense and destroy the Pentagon with one swift and deadly blow.
Ghostbusters to tower. We're coming in.
And I'm out of here.
So, what do you guys think about that? Do you think there's enough truth around that, or do you think that's just, coincidence? I think that it's what it always is. There's a lot of lies mixed with a very healthy and factual amount of truth in there. If you've been watching my channel, and I appreciate and love every one of you that does, but if you've been keeping up with my channel, you'd know that I grew up in Europe, in Germany. And we used to call it 10 years too late. So when the US had something that was new and popping, we didn't get it until 10 years later, unless you were a military brat, and I was at one point, but even still then you could only get the same things as everyone else because there was only one place to go, which was the PX, postal exchange. So everybody would have the same stuff because they didn't carry a bunch of different stuff over there. But I know for a fact that there's a lot of truth. This next person I'm going to introduce you all to. So I want you to open your mind, you know, stop using fluoride and all these things that calcify your pineal gland because they want us to lose our power. Because they know once we wake up and we're living at our highest vibration, then we have the power, and there's so much more of us than them. So this is a collective. The guy that's being used as the host, his name is Daryl Anka. This is a collective from another solar system. And if you notice, he always is like this with his eyes closed. All the time, eyes closed. I've told you quite a few times, your senses are stupid as a human. They're very, very stupid. They're very dull compared to anything else. They're just translators for your mind. You can see without eyes. You can hear without ears, and you can definitely speak without a mouth. So, smells, I don't know about, but I guess it's possible. But I know for a fact the other three things are true. So this is a collective. So I just want you to see and get used to they're talking about each other through one host, so they speak in third person. I want you to get used to that because this is powerful stuff. Him and Dolores Cannon are two of the most amazing people to ever live with the information that they've brought about. So here we go.
From your perspective, the Akashic record, it is simply the ability to recognize that everything exists here and now and therefore is always accessible to you if you are simply vibrating at the correct frequency for the information you wish to download. It is not in that sense a repository somewhere out there in the mysterious depths of space. It is not even in that sense really being recorded on the fabric of space and time, although you can create that euphemism if that works for you as a permission slip. But really the idea is to allow yourself to let go of the old-fashioned, outmoded definition of this and simply recognize that at its heart, it is simply the understanding that everything exists here and now and therefore is accessible to you if you allow your vibration to be in the here and now and pitched to whatever the relevant information is that you desire.
So it's always about your consciousness, your conscious frequency matching.
It's all about resonance.
Yeah.
Now, understand that what you call your economy is arbitrarily based anyway, isn't it?
Sure.
Isn't it just by your agreement?
Sure.
That it works at all? Isn't it just an imaginary game? This is worth that. Okay. Didn't it used to be rocks and bones and stones and feathers and beads and all sorts of things? Now it's coin and paper, so it's just arbitrary. It's just what you agree to. A more solid economy would be basing it on the people themselves, their skills and abilities, and what they have to contribute to society. You'll get there. But the point is you don't have to worry about the collapse of the old system, because that's what needs to happen if you're going to have new systems. The trick is to create the new systems now so they will be in place when the old ones crumble of their own dead weight, because they no longer serve you. So seeing them start to break up and dissolve is actually cause for celebration, because it means you're on the verge of allowing yourself to know that there are new systems you can implement. But the point is, take action and make those new systems, invent them, create them, be creative, be active, take action for its own sake. Again, not as a means to an end. For its own sake, because it excites you to do so. If it excites someone to invent, to create, to talk about, to share ideas of new economic systems just because that's what excites them, then that's what's going to create the new systems, and the synchronicity will take care of the timing. The new systems, when you have exciting people doing things because they're excited about it, just because they're excited about it, the timing will take place within the synchronicity automatically, and the new systems will be where they need to be, when they need to be there, when the old systems no longer serve you.
Boom. Mic drop. You should have just dropped it. This guy's amazing. I'm going to go ahead and pause this real quick. I'm very sorry. I just want to put you guys on game with who this guy is. So this is, I forget his name, but he is able to be out in freezing ice, snow, and everything, and he does these meditative techniques, and the snow will actually melt off of him, or it will melt around him. He brings his body temperature up using his chi. Call it chi, prana, whatever this life force energy in your part of the world is called. He's a master at it, and he has every record for anything having to do with the cold. Obviously, those were edits. The original video does not look like that. Somebody's edited over it with those little, pieces of lights from the chakra, all of these things. But that was a real man doing that in Russia, I believe it was, where it was, below zero.
A subatomic particle. Can you imagine that? Imagine that this subatomic particle has no restrictions, no limitations. It can actually move at infinite speed if it wants to. If something can move at infinite speed, that means it can be everywhere at once, correct? That means it could appear to be more than one particle, couldn't it? But you know it's the same particle, yes?
Yes.
All right. That is actually how reality is structured. All the subatomic particles in you are the same subatomic particle, and they're the same subatomic particle in every single person in the room, and on the planet, and in the universe. The same one particle. Not the same one kind. The literally same one particle makes up everything by being so infinitely fast that it can actually appear to be another particle and another particle and another particle next to itself at the same time. So the trillions upon trillions upon trillions, apparently, of particles are actually the same particle appearing next to itself over and over and over and over again in a geometric relationship not unlike what you are seeing in the holotope diagram. Traces that path on a multitude of dimensions beyond what's represented here, but nevertheless, that's a good slice or shadow of the idea of a higher dimensional form that represents the geometric path that particle is tracing at infinite speed. And every time it crosses itself, every time it crosses its path, it creates the idea of another particle. Now, having said that, the idea is that when you sit in that empty room, aside from that one other object, if you can begin to imagine the particle going back and forth between you and that object, creating all of the particles in your body and all of the particles in that object, and begin to really start to understand and truly comprehend, truly viscerally begin to feel that it actually is the same particle, that you are that object, that object is you. As soon as there becomes no difference between you and that object, you will achieve the state you are looking for, because you will become equal to any other thing you call an object, and there will be no concept of blockage between you. You can become, you can pass through, up, down, it doesn't matter. You can, in that sense, become immaterial to each other because you recognize you are one and the same thing at that moment, and you can trade places in any way, shape, or form you wish.
So high right now, Bashar. On life. I feel so high on life, and life is so ecstatic, and I feel so good.
All right.
And
So do we.
I feel every time I see you, I get higher.
Well, you're not really seeing me, but I understand the sentiment.
Well,
Thank you.
Okay, that's funny because every time I get higher with my vibration, I feel you more.
Yes.
Yes.
And get high enough, you will see us.
Yeah, you guys are like the coolest alien ninja friends ever, because I know you guys are right there.
We are right
You
here.
are right there.
We are right here.
Yes.
Not there, here.
Here. Because everything exists here.
Here and now.
So
we
I
are
exist.
right here. Pay attention to this. We are right here. We are in the illusion of separation closer than you think. You just need to make a slight adjustment in your frequency and talk about a surprise.
It's possible. I feel like I'm aiming towards mastery over the physical reality, but somehow I'm stuck.
But remember, and here's the seed, here's the core, here's the kernel. Mastery over physical reality doesn't necessarily mean that you alter it.
Oh.
Mastery over physical reality means you don't care if it changes or not. Do you understand the difference?
Yes.
When you understand that you can be in bliss regardless of what's going on in the physical reality, then you will have mastered physical reality. You know, and your scientists know on your planet, that nothing is really solid. Even what you call solid matter is only made up in a sense of energy, and it is mostly empty space. The idea, therefore, is that even though there are scientific explanations why something feels solid, being the idea of electrons and valence and all of those ideas, those are still only symbols. The true reason why anything in your physical reality, which doesn't really exist, feels solid, why you have the experience of solidity, is what you're actually feeling literally is your indestructible nature. You cannot be destroyed. That's what solidity is. You have actually used your indestructible nature and imparted that idea.
Yes, and so what happens to the soul after death?
Well, many different things, anything you want. Again, we're only talking linearly here for convenience, yes? In a
Yes.
sense, you're already dead. Because
Yeah.
everything exists at once. And as I said, you never really leave heaven. You just dream that you have. Nevertheless,
Yes, yeah.
what you generally will experience because of the way you think of these things is similar to what many people relate with regard to near-death experiences. You may experience a shift from one dimension to another, like going through a tunnel of light, but that's just a perception. It's an interpretation of the shift from one level to another. You will be greeted by those who are already in that spirit realm. family, friends, so on and so forth. You will have the life review idea that we just mentioned to some degree in some fashion, and you will decide what to do with what you have learned, and you will move on from there in any way, shape, or form you so desire. There are many, 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 many choices. You can go on to other dimensions, you can experience the illusion of reincarnation, you can even live and continue to live the same life as if you never died in another parallel reality version of yourself. You can become a spirit guide if you wish. You can have an experience of incarnating in an alien civilization if you wish. You can go and explore the galaxies as a spirit if you wish. It's really up to you. You can go to higher levels, higher planes, commune with the oversoul, do all sorts of things. You can even join communities in the spirit world and create whole, apparently solidly physical realities, if you wish. Because again, remember, as above, so below. And all the templates for everything you experience in physical reality already exist as a blueprint in spirit, and you can still experience those things in a very physical way if you wish to. But of course, because it's not really the same degree of physicality, in the blink of an eye, you can change everything.
You actually never really leave spirit. That's your natural state. But in a sense, while you are still in spirit, while the greater you is still in spirit, you are dreaming that you're not. That's what physical reality is. It's a focused dream in spirit that you're not in spirit anymore. But you are. You never leave it. Nevertheless, while you are experiencing that physical dream, you focus yourself, you limit yourself, you forget yourself, so that you can have the experience of remembering who you are from a new point of view. Remember that if you exist only in a timeless state, there is no opportunity for change, growth, discovery of a different perspective. So you create this focus called physical reality in order to be able to discover yourself from a new point of view, in order to change, in order to grow.
The beings that you call the grave, that you say are involved in the so-called abduction experiences, that have used DNA to create hybrid beings. Are most of you familiar with that, at least?
Much.
The idea to understand is that the Greys are not actually alien. They are mutated humans from a parallel Earth that destroyed itself. They could no longer reproduce. They had to tunnel into other parallel realities, such as yours, where viable human DNA still existed in order to perpetuate their society. In the process of doing that, they created different hybrid races, of which my civilization is one. The idea, though, is that there are also children, hybrid children, that have been created that will eventually also be brought to Earth to live among you. Over the time that passes from that moment forward, there will be more and more blending, sixth hybrid race. We are the third.
The idea is that when they say your thoughts will create this, your thoughts will create that, you know what they are saying is your beliefs are doing this. Just because they use the word thought does not mean the concept is different. Do not make a difference where none exists. This is our first recommendation. When you listen to these ideas, allow yourself to bring to bear what you know to be true, and apply the interpretation necessary to bring the way they are saying it into focus and into alignment with what you know to be true in principle. It doesn't matter that the words may be slightly different. It's the same idea. Identical. Here's the key that we find, in a sense, is lacking from what the energy is that you're attempting to apply when attempting to follow your passion. It's all well and good to recognize that following your passion, when you recognize it, is the thing to do. But what you may not also understand the importance of is that you also, here it is, are you paying attention? The secret to the secret to the secret Ears open wide. This is going to sound very simple, but it's very important. When you are acting on your passion, you must also be passionate about being passionate. While you may feel from time to time that you are seeking and searching for things, others also are seeking and searching for what you have to share, for what you have to give, for the expression of your true authentic self. When more and more and more of you are really allowing that authentic self to come to the forefront and to stand tall and to stand firm with your feet firmly planted on the ground and your consciousness raised to the heavens so that you stand in between that balance point of heaven and earth, as you say. And you allow yourself in that state of being, in that state of certainty, to really know it's all right, to really know it is your purpose, to really know that you can act, put forth, give out that gift. While you, because we understand that because of many of the definitions and belief systems that many of you have been raised with, that some of those definitions may act as a filtering system that will not really allow you to hear clearly what the underlying fundamental concept here is. We know that many of you get it when we say, follow your passion, act on your passion. And when you've heard others say, follow your bliss, act on your excitement, act on your passion, behave as if. We know that you believe you get that much. But at the same time, in many of the discussions we have had with many of you, we also hear the idea of putting your trust in negativity, of doubting yourself, and saying, well, I am doing my best to follow my passion, but it doesn't seem to be working. Because
it started in 2003. Now it'll be subtle at first. There are many symptoms you will experience. You probably have already been experiencing for the last several years. It doesn't all these symptoms don't occur at the same time. But you may have some for a few days and then they taper off. Then maybe a month or so later, or a week or so, you get another set of symptoms. Go to the doctor doesn't say there's nothing wrong with you. Of course, they're going to put you on a pill anyway. But it's because the frequencies are changing and our body is adjusting to it. And some of the symptoms that I've been told, high blood pressure, heart palpitations. This is a biggie. A lot of people are experiencing irregular heartbeat. They keep saying, don't worry about these things because this is the... What I was getting now, I could never have handled even 20 years ago. It would have been too complicated. But they say, we spoon feed you. And I think it's the same with people here. We can't give you the whole loaf of bread at one time. It would be too much, it would be too overwhelming. So we give you little crumbs. They said, we give you a spoonful, digest that, and then we'll give you another spoonful. And in the beginning, it was, wait a minute, what is all this? You're upsetting my whole belief system. I got it all figured out. Now you're messing with all of that. But when you started looking at it, it began to make sense. So then they gave me another piece of information, another theory, another concept. So it's been growing like that. So that's where my work has come from.
I hope you guys are picking up on this. Dolores Cannon was the first person to start really documenting all of this. So she's doing reverse techniques. So she's sending the person into their past, but also into their future. And then their higher selves and these other entities would actually start to speak to her through the person that she's helping. And she wasn't expecting that, and it shattered her whole belief system but it kept happening every single time, over and over and over and over and over and over. So she started to notate these things down and make sure she wasn't going crazy, or to make sure that this information was valid. And it is valid. And I would say just the biggest hearted, most amazing person. It's awful that she's gone now, but her work still stands, and there's a lot of people that have taken on her work, with her daughters that were trained by her, and other people that were trained by her. But she deserves so much more than the recognition she has right now. She deserves so much more, in my opinion, because of the work that she's put in, real work, to even get to where we're even talking about frequencies and vibrations in our higher selves now. That wasn't something that even was a common thought when she was finding out about all of this, and now it's everywhere. And it's thanks to her, mostly, and a few people similar to her, but nothing quite like her.
But you can imagine working with hundreds of people, and I'm getting the same information through each one. But there are councils over everything. Councils over solar systems, councils over Earths, over solar systems, councils over galaxies. And all of these councils have rules and regulations that they must abide by. No one is allowed to come into our space unless they're under these rules and regulations. So, one of the main rules, they are forbidden to harm a human being. Because after all, we are the grand experiment. And they've been watching us and developing us all this time. You're not allowed to harm. Once you understand why it is happening, the fear goes away. The fear is generated by the emotion of the human mind. They said fear is the greatest emotion a human has. Don't understand something, they're going to be afraid of it. But if you understand what's going on and why it's happening, then the person, it doesn't affect them anymore. But you keep them in that fear. Fear is a very human emotion. Earth is very unique. There's a lot of things on Earth that are not found anywhere else in the universe. One of them is fear. Fear, it comes from Earth. The other species don't have it. Well, it's also the densest, heaviest planet in the universe. And they really admire you when you decide to come to Earth because it is so difficult to live here.
The ship that we call our own is an extension, a crystallization of our higher mind. Thus, when ships of this nature are observed, it creates a template in your consciousness so that anytime you think of the ship you have seen, it plugs you into the higher mind vibration of your own being, and thus then the higher mind vibration of our being, allowing for an interface to occur. The scout ship, thus then, when it joins what you would call docking with the mother ship, thus then becomes a collection of higher minds in a crystallization of the oversoul, which is what our mothership is. Thus then we are within our oversoul when we are aboard the mothership. It has intelligence and consciousness, and supports us, and contains us.
Every single cell in your body is at 0.07 millivolts of electricity, and you have 35 billion cells. Multiply that, you're at 2.65 or so trillion volts of electricity in your one body. You're a walking nuclear explosion. This is where the Qigong energy comes from. This is where Reiki healing energy comes from. It's extracted directly from the cells in your body. It's not mysticism, it ain't magic, no, it's real. When you understand how to tap into the energy meridians in your body and extract the energy directly from the cells in your body and focus them, You now have healing powers.
What's the craziest experience you've ever had? That's easy. Earth. Earth? You went to Earth? I did. No way. You were a human? I was. Wow. You volunteered to go to Earth? I did. I had to. I had family trapped on Earth. But how could you be trapped on Earth? You had to be there to understand. On Earth, you wouldn't remember anything. I mean, you would have no memory of anything. You wouldn't even remember existing before Earth. It was designed that way. It was brilliant. To dive as deeply as possible into such ignorance, such darkness, and still find your way back to remembering who you were, that took true mastery. You would enter Earth as a baby and be completely dependent on others to teach you the rules. But since nobody could remember the rules, they had their own rules. Some fear and giving your power away to others. It wasn't for everyone. There were these magnificent beings, playing the most unique and cutting-edge experience in the universe, and they were clueless. I tried to guide them as much as possible. Wait a second, you could communicate with them? Yes, but they couldn't hear me. I would show them synchronicities, or send them impulses to help guide them, but they couldn't see the signs. Why not? They didn't trust themselves. So is that why they sent out a call for help? Exactly. Is that when you went? No, I didn't go until later. Like the message God is inside you was turned into you are separate from God. The message all the answers you seek are inside you was twisted into you can't trust yourself. And they believed it was out of control. How did they believe that? You had to be there to understand. Did you know they actually believed that they were the only intelligent life in the universe? No, that's funny. Pretty crazy, I know. So then what happened? The designers knew Earth was going to enter a section of the galaxy that humans had never experienced before. A section filled with a frequency that might be able to reconnect the human's DNA. What was wrong with their DNA? It didn't work anymore. The thing is, their DNA was how they connected with their higher self. So that's why your incarnations can hear you. Exactly. But there was a catch to the new plan. Only those incarnated on Earth could tune in to these new frequencies. To pull this off, they needed millions in the physical form, wired and ready to attune to these frequencies. We volunteered from every corner of the universe to help the humans wake up. What did the volunteers have to do once they got there? We had to wake ourselves up, attune to these frequencies, and spread them to the rest of the planet. That sounds impossible. So, what happened when we got to Earth? When on Earth, we were taught the same fear-based beliefs that had been handed down for eons. We lived just like everyone else, totally clueless of who we were and what was getting ready to happen. But as soon as the Earth entered this hum of frequencies, we started to question everything.
You know, they say it takes a very strong person to be able to see something new that contradicts their belief system or, you know, something that's close to them and to immediately make that change. I was born with the memories. There's no way for me to sit here and explain it to you in a way you'd understand, but my memories go back thousands of years, like hundreds of thousands of years. And so I came here remembering all of this. And the reason I went to all these countries and studied every religion and every ancient culture and everything in antiquity, that I could was I was looking for answers. And I'm not the only one. There's many people like this. And so, but once you realize, you know, after some time, hey, this is true, and you're getting your validation from it, then you're like, okay, now I can breathe, I can relax because this is true. And then you see with your real eyes, not these eyes, you see with these eyes that this place is messed up in the way it is. And a lot of people say, well, I wish I lived in this time or that time. Really, there was only one time where things were perfect, and it wasn't like that for long.
You know, and your scientists know on your planet, that nothing is really solid. Even what you call solid matter is only made up in a sense of energy, and it is mostly empty space. The idea, therefore, is that even though there are scientific explanations why something feels solid, being the idea of electrons and valence and all of those ideas, those are still only symbols. The true reason why anything in your physical reality, which doesn't really exist, feels solid, why you have the experience of solidity, is what you're actually feeling literally is your indestructible nature. You cannot be destroyed. That's what solidity is. You have actually used your indestructible nature and imparted that idea. You know, and you're...
So that's a scientific fact. Science has proven that energy can never be destroyed. It is impossible to destroy energy. The only thing that energy can do, excuse me, is go from one form to the next. But as far as being destroyed, energy cannot be destroyed. There were a couple of scientists in England, and they were studying NDEs, near-death experiments, and so they realized that every time they're on these beds, medical beds, that also have your weight, and every time a person passed on or transitioned, there was 7 to 10 grams that their body lost every time. 7 to 10 grams. So now that they've been speculating that this is the human soul, because the energy of the human soul, the human spirit, it does not die with the body. The body is just a temporary vessel, but our souls are immortal. It cannot be killed. It can be poked, prodded, loved. It can be all of these things, but as far as destroyed, no. Energy cannot be destroyed. And in our solar system, we have so much energy that will never be destroyed. The torsion field of the magnetosphere that's over our Earth now, the gravitational pull that our massive sun puts out, the huge gravitational pull that our big brother Jupiter, that blocks us from any large asteroids, because it's large enough to get caught in Jupiter's belt, and Jupiter takes it and slingshots it back out into space and gets it away from us. Small ones do get by, but we have defenses. We have defenses that can contend with that. So just realize that.
This is maybe the scariest urban legend I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. Back in the 1970s, there was this terrifying funhouse in Long Beach, California called the Laugh in the Dark. And there was always this urban legend that all the mannequins inside were fake, except for one. Also, mind you, this is what this week's episode is about, so if you don't want spoilers, just listen to the episode. This urban legend came to be because there was one mannequin inside that just looked wrong. All of the other ones looked fake, but this one in particular looked way too human. And a bunch of the kids also said the area that the mannequin was in just smelled really, really bad. So a few years go by, and one day a film crew comes in and is using Laugh in the Dark for a film set. The director's lining up a shot, and he just doesn't like the way this one mannequin looks in frame. So he goes over to a crew member and he's like, hey, can you just move this out of the shot? So the crew member goes over and starts moving the mannequin when its arm pops off. And inside of the mannequin's arm is human bone. The kids had been totally right. The mannequin was a mummified body. There's so much more to this story, like who the person was and how they got there, and I talk about the whole thing this week on the episode.
Alright, so we're gonna switch it up a little bit and go to a couple of other things. So we're gonna deal with some light worker stuff. So let's get to that.
Here's the key that we find, in a sense, is lacking from what the energy is that you're attempting to apply when attempting to follow your passion. It's all well and good to recognize that following your passion, when you recognize it, is the thing to do. But what you may not also understand the importance of is that you also, here it is, are you paying attention? The secret to the secret to the secret. Ears open wide. This is going to sound very simple, but it's very important. When you are acting on your passion, you must also be passionate about being passionate. While you may feel from time to time that you are seeking and searching for things, others also are seeking and searching for what you have to share, for what you have to give, for the expression of your true authentic self. when more and more and more of you are really allowing that authentic self to come to the forefront and to stand tall and to stand firm with your feet firmly planted on the ground and your consciousness raised to the heavens so that you stand in between that balance point of heaven and earth, as you say. And you allow yourself in that state of being, in that state of certainty, to really know it's all right, to really know it is your purpose, to really know that you can act, put forth, give out that gift. Because we understand that because of many of the definitions and belief systems that many of you have been raised with, that some of those definitions may act as a filtering system that will not really allow you to hear clearly what the underlying fundamental concept here is. We know that many of you get it when we say, follow your passion, act on your passion. And when you've heard others say, follow your bliss, act on your excitement, act on your passion, behave as if. We know that you believe you get that much. But at the same time, in many of the discussions we have had with many of you, we also hear the idea of putting your trust in negativity, of doubting yourself, and saying, well, I am doing my best to follow my passion, but it doesn't seem to be working. Because
It started in 2003. Now, it'll be subtle at first. There are many symptoms you will experience. You will not, you probably have already been experiencing for the last several years. It doesn't all have, all these symptoms don't occur at the same time. But you may have some for a few days, and then they taper off. Then maybe a month or so later, or a week or so, you get another set of symptoms. You go to the doctor doesn't say there's nothing wrong with you. Of course, they're going to put you on a pill anyway. But it's because the frequencies are changing and our body is adjusting to it. And some of the symptoms that I've been told, high blood pressure, heart palpitations. This is a biggie. A lot of people are experiencing irregular heartbeat. And they keep saying, don't worry about these things because this is the...
I just want to say real quick, I hope you guys were understanding that I went through these symptoms about 4 years ago. And the symptom that hit me the hardest, and I didn't know all of this 4 years ago. You know, I was still learning. I had a very good grasp on most things, but I had no idea where this was coming from. It came out of the blue when I was, as an engineer, still wearing steel-toe boots and a hard hat and a high-vis vest every day because I'm building a data center that I designed. So I ended up having my symptoms. My worst symptom was I could not eat anything solid for a bit over a month. So just imagine that. I'm a physical worker. I'm not picking up stuff and moving it around a lot or anything like that. I do pick up some stuff and move it around. Nothing super heavy. I have machines for that, but I've got a team to manage. I've got 3.6 million square feet of a campus to manage and build with my teams. And I cannot eat. I cannot get the energy that I need. So I had to be very specific on the natural stuff that I drink. And I started juicing my own stuff. And I was like, well, look, if I'm not going to be able to get any energy from carbohydrates or, you know, any electrolytes or anything like that, then I'm just going to juice my fruits as much as I can. And then if I can buy some, you know, that'll help too and give me that burst throughout the day to where I'm never too tired, you know. And it took a few days for it to really start, my body starting to switch from what I had been doing to what I'm doing now. But I always ate very healthily. You know, that was just how I was raised in Europe. We don't have to go natural, it's just done. But here, everything's trying to kill you. Big Pharma, the government, Monsanto, you know, the same people that own Roundup or the same people that owns the heart medication. So you get heart attacks from that, and they got your medication for you. So it's insanity. So I just want to put that in your heads.
I was getting now, I could never have handled even 20 years ago. It would have been too complicated. But they say, we spoon feed you. And I think it's the same with people here. We can't give you the whole loaf of bread at one time. It would be too much, it would be too overwhelming. So we give you little crumbs. And they said, we give you a spoonful, digest that, and then we'll give you another spoonful. And in the beginning, it was, well, wait a minute, what is all this? You're upsetting my whole belief system. I got it all figured out. Now you're messing with all of that. But when you started looking at it, it began to make sense. So then they gave me another piece of information, another theory, another concept. So it's been growing like that. So that's where my work has come from. But you can imagine working with hundreds of people and I'm getting the same information through each one. But there are councils over everything. Councils over solar systems, councils over Earths, over solar systems, councils over galaxies. And all of these councils have rules and regulations that they must abide by. No one is allowed to come into our space unless they're under these rules and regulations. So, one of the main rules, they are forbidden to harm a human being. Because after all, we are the grand experiment. And they've been watching us and developing us all this time. They're not allowed to harm. Once you understand why it is happening, the fear goes away. The fear is generated by the emotion of the human mind. They said fear is the greatest emotion a human has. Don't understand something, they're going to be afraid of it. But if you understand what's going on and why it's happening, then the person, it doesn't affect them anymore. But you keep them in that fear. Fear is a very human emotion. Earth is very unique. There's a lot of things on Earth that are not found anywhere else in the universe. One of them is fear. Fear, it comes from Earth. The other species don't have it. Well, it's also the densest, heaviest planet in the universe. And they really admire you when you decide to come to Earth because it is so difficult to live here.
Alright, hope you guys enjoyed that. I've actually got a lot more for you tomorrow, so we're going to stop it right here. I want you to let this marinate, you know, think about it, do your own research on it, and see what you come up with. Leave me something in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear from you all. And I love and appreciate every one of you that's subscribed. Let's get this channel up into the hundreds of thousands, because we will be the littlest channel on YouTube in this genre. I can guarantee you that. And I can't do it without you. So let's work together. I love each and every one of you. I hope you have a great evening. And I will see you tomorrow, and we will do this again, but on another topic. So, there's some brain food. Let that digest, you know, mull it over. Come back tomorrow. Got something else for you. Alright, see ya.